What's up, everybody? So, this is my review of Warfare, written and directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. And it follows the story of a group of Navy SEALs who are trapped in a house in circa 2006 Iraq. And then, as they slowly realize that their position has been compromised and they see that they're going to be attacked very, very soon. And this movie it's kind of haunting. I think that's one of the best words I can use to describe this movie. It's haunting in the sense of it's arguably one of the most realistic depictions of war that at least I've ever seen. I'm not a huge fan of war movies, even though I've seen probably most of them. But there's always that entertainment factor that is in war movies that even though I might enjoy the movie, there's a part of me that always kind of, I don't know, it just feels a little bit wrong to be entertained by something like this. But this movie, the thing that stuck out to me as I thought about it after the fact is that it takes so many of the aspects of the great war movies in the past and somehow puts them all together. Now, it's important to note that, as I said earlier, Ray Mendoza is a co-writer and co-director of Warfare, and he's also a former military man, used to be in the Navy SEALs. And so him and Alex Garland worked very, very closely together to craft this story. And not just the story itself, but embed little bits and pieces so that way you do get that more realistic aspect of it. One of many things that it takes from other great war movies that I can think of off the top of my head was, if you've ever seen the movie Jarhead, directed by Sam Mendes and starring Jake Gyllenhaal, one of the things that you see, especially in the second half of the movie when everyone goes off to the first Iraq war, is just that kind of mundane, boring, waiting aspect of it that can kind of drive you a little crazy. And then also just the tension in 13 Hours, which is a movie directed by Michael Bay. And then which I think is John Krasinski is in that movie. And then just the suspense and the tension of, the quote unquote enemies closing in on you and you have to defend your position. And also the camaraderie that is evident in the group of soldiers of Saving Private Ryan. And so it kind of takes all these bits, puts them all together, and you have Warfare. And just such a great cast as well. I mean, you have Michael Gandolfini, you have Poulter, you have Joseph Quinn. And the first part of this movie that is great is how it's not really a slow burn. I think it's unfair to call it a slow burn, but it is a really good depiction of just that waiting aspect. But also at the same time, you do have, some moments of levity because you see how this group, are bonded. You see, the brotherhood that they've developed over time. So you kind of get to know them as characters, get to know the character dynamic between everybody, while at the same time wondering when something's going to happen. And then, so you care about these characters, which to me is one of my main complaints, my main gripe with Civil War, Alex Garland's movie that came out last year, which was an interesting movie, had really cool ideas, but in the end, I really didn't care what happened to the characters. I was more paying attention to, the big ideas of societal breakdown, of tribalism, and how that affects a country. So when something would happen to a character in Civil War, it's like, okay, sure. There was so much put on the big ideas of the movie that I think the investment in the characters and their character arc and their journey kind of got lost along the wayside a little bit. But this one is definitely part of it, and I think makes even the message basically of Warfare is how terrible war is. And so when you're invested in the characters and you want them to succeed, you want them to make it out of the situation alive, that tension is built up even more. You know, it's not like some existential thing that's outside of you that you're like, okay, yeah, this is tension building. And it's like, oh, okay. You just kind of, you're not in the story. You know, you're not wondering if and when something bad is going to happen to your character that you're rooting for, and or how they're going to get out of this situation. And when they do, you're like cheering along with them. And you really get this. You get this in droves with Warfare. Another thing that I thought was really, really well done is the sound design. You know, the sound of the bullets, the sound of the explosion. Whether I know it's real or not, because obviously I don't. I've never been in war. But it definitely feels real. You know, it's like, especially in those gun battles, I immediately got a callback to that gunfight scene in Heat, Michael Mann's movie back in '95. You know, like after the bank heist, and then now Robert De Niro and his crew are exchanging bullets with the LAPD. It felt real. It felt like I was really, really there. And this kind of had a lot of that, you know. So it was like they really took painstaking measures, I feel like, you know, so that way not just the camaraderie is real, the situation is real, the tension is real, but also the sound of it is real. So it's kind of like an all immersive type of experience, which I really, really appreciated. But yeah, what about you guys? Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button, give me a follow, and I'll see you guys next time.